hashtag Votillustrator, hashtag old gas pump, hashtag photographer. All right, so today I'm going to show you how I edited this photo for Instagram. Hey guys, Jason Olsford here, the Votillustrator, and today we're going to transform this boring photo of a gas pump into this fun and exciting photo of a gas pump for Instagram. So the question of the day is, do you like using Lightroom or Photoshop or a combination of both to edit your Instagram photos? And speaking of Instagram, why don't you go ahead and like me on Instagram at Votillustrator, and while you're at it, go ahead and show the subscribe button a little bit of love by slapping it. Slap it! You got to slap it. Or I guess you can just click it if you'd rather do that. All right, if you'd like to follow along with me on this Instagram edit, you can download the raw version of this image over at Votillustrator.com, and I'll leave the link in the show notes below. Now, let's get started. All right, so now that we are in Lightroom here, we're going to prep our image real quick to go into Photoshop. So let's start by doing a general crop here. So first I'm going to set this at a 4:5 since that is the ideal format for an Instagram photo. And then we're just going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to keep tweaking it until I like what I finally see right about there. And then I just want to straighten it up just a tiny bit here, about like that. Make sure that our lines are as straight as possible. Right there, looking pretty decent. I'm digging that. And then I'm going to bring my shadows all the way down, my highlights, or my shadows all the way down, my highlights all the way up, and then I'm going to drop that exposure just a little bit about right there. And then I'm just going to come down here and bring up my luminance and hit that remove chromatic aberrations. And I'm liking it. It's pretty good right there. After doing my photo prepping in Lightroom, I now take it to Photoshop where I really do the heavy lifting of this edit. All right, so here we are in Photoshop where we're really going to do the lion's share of the editing. It's going to take a little bit longer in this part of the tutorial, but I'll try to make it go as quick as possible. So starting off here with our pump, I'm going to Command J, make a copy of that. And so I always maintain my original. We're going to go up here, and I want to get rid of this ugly sky up here and all these wires and all that kind of stuff. So hit the P so we can start knocking that out and take a selection. All right, so now that we have our selection, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the layer mask and then Command I to invert that. And then I already have my sky all ready to go over here. So I'm just going to come over here and drag and pull that into our scene here. And then let's get back out into our original. And I already know that I want to flip this to horizontal here. And then I'm just going to bring it down in size and then position it up here so we can get something that looks halfway decent there. That's kind of cool right in that area there. We'll go with that right there. All right. So we're going to start here by bringing a curves layer on it. And I just want to bring the overall tone down just a little bit there. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit another layer, hit my brush tool with B, and then I'm going to come over here in my colors and select 867B00. And then I'm just going to make a big, make sure your hardness is at 0, just a big one there. And then just go up there and tap it. And then we're going to come down here, color dodge, drop that opacity down to something reasonable. I like that. That looks pretty decent right there. All right, so we're going to come in here to our original layer here. I'm going to copy it, turn one off, and then I'm just going to convert to a smart object here. All right, and then I'm going to Command J to copy that. And then really before I get into anything else here, what I want to do is go up here and start adding some coloring to it. So let's go up to our color lookout, and you can do this in so many different ways. It doesn't matter how you do it. And I probably do it differently the next time that I do it. So from night to day gives us this nice teal color, and then I'm just going to drop that opacity down there to wherever, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to come in here, hit a color balance, and then go to my shadows, and then I'm just going to bring my shadows down into blues and teals, and then I'm going to go to another color layer, balance layer, hit my highlights, and then bring those up into the yellows and reds-ish area, and then maybe one more color balance, and then hit the midtones, and then just bring that midtone up into something reasonable. That's looking quite fine to me right in there. And then I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit more right about there. I'm going to shift and tap the top one so we can select all of them, Command G to group them, and then I'm just going to bring that tone down just a little bit here. All right, and then I want to flatten them all out into one layer, and then hit Shift Command U to make that a black and white, and then bring that opacity down to something that looks kind of cool, reasonable. Let's say around 18. All right, so this top layer, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add a blur onto it because I want to make sure that I blur the background out. And I want just a little bit more control of my blurring than what Lightroom really has to offer there. So let's go ahead and do a Gaussian blur on that smart object. And we're just going to bring that 6.2. Not too bad. I'm kind of digging that right there. Okay. And then we're just going to come in here and let's add a layer mask to it so we can mask out that. But I also want to add a curves layer to it. Well, let's do it a little bit differently. Let's just add a regular layer. And then since my black is the background layer, I can Command Delete, and that adds in a nice layer to the background there. So we're just going to bring that down in tone. Let's bring it to roughly about there. And I'm going to attach it to our blur layer. Come in here to our layer mask. Make sure we're on a black. We're on brush. And then we're on black. You can change if you want. Okay. And then make our hardness anywhere in the 80s. So 86 looks pretty good. And so then I'm just going to come in here and we're going to start painting out that part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so now that we have our mask here, we can go up here and I'm just going to drop the opacity here a little bit more. I don't like how dark that is, so I don't want it to be, look fake. All right, so we're coming here, grab that there, so that's looking good. And then I'm going to come in here and just grab another brush here and black. All right, so then we're going to come down here to our original sharp layer and we're going to add some effects onto that as well. So we're going to come in here, add this in, and then I'm going to, let's see here, we're going to add a couple of layers here. And the first one here, we're going to grab our brush tool, go back to our highlight area, 867B00, and we're going to come in here and just add some nice highlights to the edge here where the sun might be kind of hitting it right there, right here. I like that. Come on down. Come on down. The price is right. All right, so we're just going to come in down here like that. That's looking decent. And then we're just going to put a color dodge on that and drop that opacity down so it's not so strong. And then we're going to grab our erase tool at 100% there on our opacity. I just want to come in here and just paint off this overflow here onto the gas pump from the cord or from the whatever tube, whatever that thing is. All right, then I'm going to grab my erase tool, 10% opacity. I'm just going to come in here and just erase a little bit off of that, just so it's not so solid there. All right, and then come in here, grab my and I'm just fixing a little bit of blurriness around the edge there, just so we can sell this thing as a that it hasn't been photoshopped as much as it actually has. Okay, just like that. That's looking good there. Okay, good. All right, good enough. All right, so here we have our highlighted areas. That's looking pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and add in let's do a brush tool. Let's do, instead of 100% opacity, let's just bring that down to 20%, let's say. Right here on that. Good. That's what I'm looking for. Right there. Good. All right, so that's looking pretty decent there. And then we're going to come in here and I'm going to add some shadowing onto this, because we know that make sure we're on black. We know that our pump would have, if the sun's coming from the right of screen over here, we know we're going to have some shadows on the pump here, just like that. It's looking good there. And then we're going to bring that shadow and we're just going to bring it off, just like that. We can actually, let's leave it there just like that. And then we're going to bring that down. That's looking pretty decent right there. I like it. That's pretty cool. I'm going to come up here, add another layer, grab my brush tool on white. And now we're just going to do a couple of things here real quick before we move on. And then I'm just going to bring this here, boom. And then I'm going to put a overlay on that. And then I'm just bringing that tone down just a bit there. I mean, that's looking good. You could just stay with that right there. But for argument's sake, because I know what I did on the last one, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to come in, get my hardness down good, because I want to make sure that I just paint in where this part of it is. All right, so now that we have that painted in, we're just going to drop that overlay on there. Or let's see, soft light, overlay, let's do soft light. And then bring that opacity down. And that kind of turns that light on a little bit for us here. And so let's bring that out. That's not looking too bad. Let's bring it to overlay just to see what it looks like. Kind of like overlay just a little bit better. Bring that opacity even down a little bit further. And boom. I'm digging that right there. I'm going to come in and do a couple more things to it real quick and hit my brush tool with my black selected. I'm going to bring the flow down to 1%, feather that hardness out to 0. Then I'm just going to come in and paint in a little bit of depth into these areas here, just to give the image just a little bit more depth. And then we can come in here, add some depth into this pole, as though on that side it's going to be a little bit more shaded than the other side. Grab my erase tool at 10%. Just come in here and just knock out some of the blotchiness of that. Good right there. Grab that brush tool. We're just finishing up here. We want to go ahead and bring a little bit more into that. That's good. And then I'm going to go ahead one more layer here on the in focus pump, and we're going to do the same thing. We just want to add some depth to everything that's on here by bringing some shadows into it. Good, just like that. We can bring some into the cord here. What is that thing? It's not cord, it's a tube that the gas goes through. All right, so we're just going to come in here just like that. I'm digging it right there. Perfect. Image, come up here, hit some of that on the edge. I'm digging it. I like it. All right, looks good right there. Photoshop done. Now that I have the heavy lifting of this edit done in Photoshop and I have a solid image to work with, I jump back over to Lightroom where I do one quick edit. All right, so here we are back in Lightroom, and I'm going to make one quick tweak to this, and that is by sharpening it up. And I like to bring that up to anywhere between 35 and 40, and then just back to library. All right, so now that I have my quick edit done in Lightroom, I move on to a Nik filter kit where I do another quick couple of tweaks. Say that 3 times real fast. Quick couple of tweaks, quick couple of tweaks, quick couple of tweaks. All right, so here we are in Color Effects Pro, which is a Nik filter kit. And I go to the last filter option. I just use the same filters just about on everything that I do, really. And basically that's Vignette Filter, Glamour, Glow, Pastel, and Detail Extractor. Now you can tweak all of these however you want through the saturation or the control panel, the opacity, that type of thing. You might want to bring your pastel up if you want and just make it more pastel-y looking. You can see how it brings everything up a little bit. I like keeping it around 12. I don't want to over exaggerate these things. It can start to look a little goofy if you start overdoing these things. Okay, so let's bring our Glamour Glow down. That is really for people, not so much for gas pumps. Okay, and then we have our, of course, we have our vignette here, and I'm just going to bring my vignette and I'm just going to drop that opacity down. I don't want a full dark sky there. I want to bring some a little bit of tone into that. And then of course the pump here, I don't want my vignette to affect the pump, so I can bring that in here and then drop that opacity just a tiny bit. And again, down here at the bottom, I don't want that vignette to affect my pump per se down there. I don't mind it affecting the ground necessarily, but not the actual pump there. All right, so that's pretty good there. I'm going to bring my opacity up just a tiny bit. Finally, I go back into Lightroom where I do a couple more final tweaks to this image. All right, so here we are lastly in Lightroom where we're going to do a couple more final tweaks to this bad boy here. I'm going to start off by bringing this exposure down just a little bit. It's a little too much for me. And then I'm going to bring my contrast up just a tiny bit. I don't want to overdo it. I like to dehaze things. That kind of brings a little clarity to it there. They increase that vibrance. And then I'm going to head down to the split toning. This is where some magic can really happen in this area here. Just bring that there. And then my highlights, we can bring that saturation up a little bit more. I like a little bit more brown tone there, and that's looking not too bad, not too shabalicious there, shabalicious. And you can change your balance. You can go more towards the shadows balance there. So if you like it more of a bluish tone, teal tone, you can go down there, or you can bring it up more towards a warmer tone. I don't know. Let's see. Let's just see where we like it here. Let's go about right there, just for the fun of it. All right. Come over here and just play with some of our hues and see what we come up with here. And then I don't like that orange because that will change the look of that just a little bit too much. We can bring this back down. Then we could come up here to our warm temperature and warm it up just a little bit. And when you warm it up, you're going to bring the brightness of it up here, so you can bring that down, back down here. That's not looking too bad. I kind of like that. And then bring this tone up, the yellow up a little bit. Kind of gives it a warmer tone. And then I don't think there's enough vignetting on here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring a little bit more vignette into this, just like that. And voila! I'm ready to post it on Instagram. See, it doesn't get any easier than that, does it? I know it was a complex edit, but I think the results speak for themselves. Now hit that subscribe button, show it some love, slap it, tap it, click it, whatever you want to do. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video, and I'll see you next time when we make things levitate. Well, not this coffee mug, but a person. We'll make it levitate. See ya. It's good coffee.